way. I might say, nobody doing it better. Y'all some lightweights. Malik Wright, up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles. Got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals. Oh man, there's no one discussing it. They came, they stayed, they either did it or done it. Man, I love it, cause all they ever do is win. So kick back, relax, the team WSN.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down with Malik Wright morning show. I'm your host, Malik Wright, joined as always with my co-host, Danielle Almeida, Marissa on the ones and twos. Before we jump into everything that we need to discuss, make sure you guys do us a huge favor. Give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. Listen, there's a lot to get into, but I want to start off with the New York Football Jets, everyone's off-season Super Bowl favorite team on paper. We've got to say on paper because, you know, I tried to warn a lot of people. That for a team that's coming in with so much hype and we're banking on Aaron Rodgers to have a big season, so on and so forth, they didn't have the traditional offseason most people were expecting, right? They didn't. Aaron Rodgers wasn't fully there for his team. Obviously, he's coming off of the Achilles tear. There were so many questions about this football team. And I think a lot of people thought that they would waltz into the season, they'd push over the 49ers, and Aaron Rodgers would remind everybody that, hey, I'm still the baddest man in the NFL. None of those things occurred last night. If you watch the game, the 49ers ran roughshod of them. The 49ers proved to the world that, hey, don't overlook us. I understand Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are a team, right, that a lot of people are excited about. A lot of people have a lot of hype for, but don't overlook us. They punched them in the mouths. Last night. And maybe this was the reality check that the New York Football Jets needed, right? Maybe this was the reality check that they needed in order to show them that, hey, listen, while you're good, you just ain't that good enough just yet. Danny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Jets, they surprised me in the fact that they looked very rusty. And that's the one thing, I definitely should have expected more. I think that the Jets still have potential to do something pretty good in the season. And I think it really comes down to they just got to start off hot. Because, I mean, when you look at the schedule, the rest of their, the next 5 games, I mean, you got the Patriots, you got the Steelers, you got some pretty easy games, you got the Broncos. So the Jets are going to have every single chance. And that's why I'm not pressing the panic button on them yet. I think that the New York Jets, and once again, we got some people in the chat. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I got Mike Shaw said, the Jets disappointing is pretty much the same thing as death and taxes. I mean, you're right. And I think this is kind of the season that we'll get to see if Aaron Rodgers and the Jets have anything left in their tank. And I saw some good things out of them. Breece Hall, still top 5 running back. Garrett Wilson still, pushing into that top 10 category. They just got to get him the ball more. And that's really what concerns me, is the fact that even with all offseason, Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, they didn't seem to be on the same exact page. And I think a lot of that also had to do with their putrid offensive line. It wasn't very good yesterday. So when I look at the Jets, like I said, I'm not fully pressing the panic button because I still believe they got talent. I still believe in their defense. Their defense showed up pretty much, in the first half, and then the second half, they got ran all over. But I think the Jets, like I said, I think they can still compete for the division. That you got the Buffalo Bills and the Dolphins, both 2 teams that didn't look exceptional in their debuts. And when I look at the Jets once again, man, it's going to come down to Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to need his surrounding team. And I think he's going to need a lot of changes. So the one thing I will propose real quick on the show for the Jets, I think they should go trade for Devontae Adams. I think that right now the New York Jets, they're going all in. They pretty much made that their mantra, right? Hey, we're going all in on this window with Aaron Rodgers to go win a Super Bowl. And you're telling me Allen Lazard is your wide receiver 2? Mike Williams, who barely played a couple snaps yesterday, is your wide receiver 2? If I were the Jets, and I know I've got Aaron Rodgers, and if I'm trying to go all in, I would go call the Raiders up right now. I'd say, hey, you guys, you guys lost. You guys aren't really competing this season. What does it take for Devontae Adams? I'd give up a 2nd-round pick. I'd give up a 2nd-round pick and maybe a 4th-round pick in next year's draft. At the end of the day, they need to add more talent. Tyler Conklin is not doing it. Allen Lazard had a great game by statistical measures, but he was absolutely in zero in the first half. So when I look at the Jets, I think that they've got a lot of talent. I think that their front seven needs some improving because they did get ran all over. But if they're going to make some serious noise, I think they do need to go make an outside change. And in my opinion, if I see Garrett Wilson on one side, if I see Devontae Adams on the other side, if I see Breece Hall, I think they've got a serious chance to go and just get into the playoffs, because that's what it comes down to for the Jets, in my opinion, Malik. If the Jets make the playoffs, it pretty much nullifies any issues that they had at the beginning portion of the season. So I think that should be the Jets' mantra. Hey, let's follow what the Buccaneers did a couple years ago, right? They added Tom Brady, and obviously that team clicked right away, but it took them a little time to, they barely scraped in the playoffs. I think they had 10, 11 wins. So if I'm the Jets, that's how I'm looking at this season. Hey, the first couple weeks, let's get all the kinks out and let's go. I would 1000% make that my effort. Let's go trade for Devontae Adams. You got Adams, you got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. I think that team could compete in the playoffs, but not the greatest of debuts, I would say.
I mean, I think that's on paper, though, right, Daniel? That's on paper. I mean, if we're really going to have this discussion, it's on paper. It really does come down to were they going to gel as a football team? That is such a huge point of emphasis when it comes to us predicting and projecting these teams to be this or be that. It has to come down to, do you guys have the team chemistry? And I don't need to be in New York anymore, right, to tell you that on the outside looking in, trust me, I'm on the outside looking in, that the Jets didn't have that.
Yep.
The Jets didn't have that. There was a lot of hype with them. And I understand that comes with the territory. That comes with being in a big city market. You're going to get those people that are going to question, right, if this team is, good enough. You're going to get those people that overrate this team and say that they are good enough. But the fact of the matter is, for me, I'm not from the show me state, but I'm from the show me state. You got to show me something before I'm ready to just say that you're going to be this or you're going to be that. Right?
Yeah.
Consistency is a big part of it. But you made an interesting point. You talked about trading for Devontae Adams. Touch on that a little bit more. Why do you think they should do that? And do you even think that's even a feasible option?
Yeah, and totally. And our guy chilling with Chase, he also makes a great point. They should definitely call about Jonathan Allen 1000%. I'd be looking at both those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So let me take each of those guys separately. Devontae Adams, 1000%. I think it's a realistic option.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is you look at the Raiders once again. I've got a good feeling that this season ain't going to go too well for Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. And Antonio Pierce in that Chargers game, he made a lot of crucial,
Mm-hmm.
mistakes. And you go look at what Raiders fans were saying. You look at just how they performed. That game was theirs.
Mm-hmm.
That game was theirs. So I'm very confident in just saying, first off, the Raiders aren't going to be good this year. I see them as a 5-win team. So as the season keeps progressing, I've got a feeling that they're going to look at themselves and say, holy crap, all right, we're not going to win. If there's a possibility, I do think that there's a possibility they do fire Antonio Pierce if the season is really putrid. Because once again, I look at last year, I think last year was fool's gold. And that goes back to the point that Devontae Adams is 32 years old. And he understands, hey, this is my time to go out and win a Super Bowl. I'm not here to play around. He didn't get traded to the Raiders just to play around. He got traded for Derek Carr, and then obviously so much stuff happened. And I think his connection with Aaron Rodgers, if you sell him, hey, the connection with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to get targets. You're going to be consistent with him. And that's a much better chance to contend this season. I think it's a realistic option. And if I'm the Raiders, I would take a second-round pick for Devontae Adams. I'd take a second and a fourth-round pick. Get rid of that and go bring in draft capital and keep building your team, because you don't have your franchise quarterback right now. So I do think it's a real feasible option.
Can we talk about the bigger issue here, though?
Yeah.
In order to win, right, in any professional league, you have to also be coached by a guy that knows how to win. I'm not convinced Robert Saleh understands how to win.
Yep.
I'm not convinced he's a winner. And I talked about that so often this offseason where people were praising the New York Jets. I think Robert Saleh, I think people forget, he was almost on the outs in San Fran before they had that turnaround, before Nick Bosa and all that. There were tweets. You can literally go look up fire Robert Saleh tweets before he was the Jets. I'm talking about when he was the Niners defensive coordinator. He got the job with the Jets vastly because of his energy, right? And because of the remarkable changes he made to the Niners defense after they drafted Nick Bosa. But if we're being honest with ourselves, Robert Saleh has not proven to be a winner in the National Football League. And I think that's a very serious conversation to have. Like, I think it's important to have an experienced coach. I think it's been important to have a coach that knows what they're doing, that understands the in and outs, that also takes accountability. Accountability, I don't care what profession you're in, it's a big part of the job. And Robert Saleh is a guy for me that has struggled with both of those things. He struggled with winning. He struggled with building a winning culture. He struggled with accountability. And guess what? Everybody loves him because he gets hyper on the sideline and he jumps up and down and he's really like the Energizer Bunny, but nobody's willing to say what needs to be said. And then what I'm willing to say that needs to be said is I don't think Robert Saleh is a good head football coach. And I'll say that. And I think as long as you have a loser at that spot, I don't think that the Jets will ever be in contention to win anything. Respectfully, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and my brain's just churning. I'm with you, and I do think that there's a real chance. I'd just be curious to see how long Aaron Rodgers has in the NFL.
I mean,
and because
yeah.
that's kind of that goes to where you're going to go next.
I mean,
right?
the guy literally goes into dark holes and dark places and stuff like that, and will literally, keep himself away from society for months. And he says he went through a darkness retreat. Like, what the hell? Come on now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened to Aaron Rodgers that we used to know and love, but I don't know. I think there's a lot going on with the New York Football Jets. And I think that when you go out there, you trade for an Aaron Rodgers, that's simply thinking you're going to slap a Band-Aid over it and then you're going to produce results.
Yep.
Don't believe that. But want to keep the conversation rolling. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. We appreciate that you guys are spending your mornings with us. But I want to jump into the NFL news and not even NFL news, so to speak, more so a topic that I wanted to discuss. There's a lot of teams being overrated and underrated after week 1 of the NFL. Daniel, I want you to kick us off on this topic. Who are some of your overrated and underrated teams of week 1 in the NFL?
There's a lot, to be honest. And just how I'm looking at it, I think there's a lot of teams that are being overrated. I think the Dallas Cowboys are being overrated. I do. And I think, once again, it matters where you believe that they're being discussed. I think the Cowboys are fine. The Cowboys are a very good regular season team. But after week 1, I've seen people talk about them like they're a shoe-in to dominate. They're a shoe-in to dominate the NFC East. I don't think so. They went and they mollywopped on a Browns team that had virtually zero offense. And yes, the Cowboys, I'm confident they are consistent. They're going to win 10 games this season. They're going to get into the playoffs. But if we're talking, are they on the upper echelon of NFL teams? I don't think so. I didn't see enough from them, right? I also didn't see enough from their defense. Their defense was good. Mike Parsons is obviously good, but they weren't tested in week 1. They're going to be tested against the Eagles. They're going to be tested against the 49ers. They're going to be tested against these other teams. And that's what concerns me, because right now, I've seen on social media, a lot of Cowboys fans have a false sense of identity. You pay Dak Prescott the contract, and then he goes and destroys the Browns, and you guys think you're headed for a Super Bowl. I don't think so. And that's where the expectation for the Cowboys has to be NFC Championship, has to be in that dance. And I don't think they get there. I don't think so. I think, once again, I don't believe in the run game. I like Zeke. I like, Rico Dowdle, but it really is going to depend on what the Cowboys do. I personally think they should go trade for a wide receiver. I think they need to go trade for another weapon, because as we saw last year, I don't think CeeDee Lamb's enough. I like Brandon Cooks. Jake Ferguson is a fine tight end. But if I'm them, I'm looking to go make an acquisition at wide receiver and just see how the rest of the season plays out. But early on, right now, I feel from the outside looking in, people are overrating this Cowboys team. I believe I know who they are. I think you believe you know who they are. I think they're a great regular season team, and they're not built to win in the playoffs. So that's right now. I see people talking about them in the Super Bowl. I think that's completely blasphemy.
I'll say that my underrated team are. I gotta stay at home here. I gotta go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
I think after week 1, a lot of people are very, very low on the Bengals, and is justifiable. I understand it, right? They shit the bed against the New England Patriots. It's no other way to say it. Things did not go according to plan, but they always, always come out the gate slow, right? It's one of those things where you see it quite often, and I'm not pressing the panic button just yet. There's some things that need to be worked out, some kinks that need to be worked out, and I'm sure they'll figure it out in due time. We kind of have this conversation, I want to say, every single year.
Yeah.
Losing to the New England Patriots, there's no excuse for that. That's just a horrid performance, I think, if you ask me. But I'm not pressing the panic button on those guys just yet. I have a funny feeling they're going to find a way to work it out. They're a team that have been there. But I do want to touch on uh, the Atlanta Falcons
Yes.
as far as a team that was overrated. Um, a lot of people were so pumped up for this high potential potent offense under new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, who I'm still very high on. Still, obviously, got to work some things out, but to not even uh, put up 17, 20 points on a Pittsburgh Steelers football team, right, that beat you without even having to score a touchdown,
Yeah.
that's absolutely crazy to me. Um, I'm very, very disappointed in what the Falcons showed, to be honest with you. I really believe that maybe we'd see something different from them. Um, I'll say this. If they continue to play the way that they played, it wouldn't shock me if the Atlanta Falcons made a change at the quarterback position
Yep.
later in the season. I don't know if Kirk Cousins is in his own head. Maybe the Steelers defense is just that damn good. I have no idea. But to me, I felt like there was a lot of opportunities that they didn't take advantage of. That offense is just too talented with Kyle Pitts, right? With Bijan Robinson, with Drake London to only put up 10 points. To me, I think that for a team that everybody was saying was going to be the winners of the NFC South this year, you were hoping to see more from them. And you didn't see that. You didn't get that. So, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed. But it also feeds my my narrative, if you will,
Mm.
that the Buccaneers, right? Buccaneers are going to still be players in this division. Doesn't help my narrative about the Panthers potentially bouncing back, but I think all in all, what you saw from the Falcons was more or less what I think some people expected.
Yeah.
I definitely saw them coming in with a lot of offseason hype. It's funny. I felt like them and the Jets had the most offseason hype.
Yep.
And they both fell flat on their face. But Daniel, you were the biggest Falcons
Yeah.
guy this offseason.
I was
Let's
very
talk about that a little more. Let's
Yeah.
switch over to the Falcons topic if we can.
Yeah, I think the Falcons once again. I'm looking at the camera here. They disappointed me, and I had to do a little soul searching this
Mhm.
week, Malik, and I really had to dive deep. And I actually wrote some notes before. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm expecting of the Falcons.
Mhm.
What I'm gonna change my tune a little bit, and I'm gonna actually discuss. I don't think their weapons are very good. I think their weapons are fine, but I don't
How
think
about their quarterback isn't really good?
Yes, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
But I don't think their weapons are all it's made out to be. Bijan Robinson is a very good running back, very talented, and he's going to keep getting a ton of carries. And I think for anybody who has him in fantasy, they're going to be very happy with him the rest of the season. But a guy that I've been super high on, Drake London, I believe that he should be showing more. I think that is on the coaching staff, and that's what concerns me. A guy like Kyle Pitts had a good game, Drake London, but I think it's just besides those three, I mean, it's not a superstar cast. They are good. They are talented, but Ray McLeod's your wide receiver too. Darnell Mooney is your wide receiver too. I think they're all very niche guys. Like Mooney is a great deep route. Deep, just go send him deep. Ray McLeod's very shifty underneath, underneath routes. But altogether, they haven't come together as a cohesive unit. And that's what does give me a little faith is, okay, one, they are in a division that allows them to have a little wiggle room. But it's going to have to happen soon. And that's what I do believe. When I was looking at the quarterback and chilling with Chase made a very, very good point. Cousins wasn't planning on his throwing foot. And I think that's the biggest thing. Malik, I went back and watched every single one of his dropbacks. The dude was a statue. And when I tell you a statue, I mean a literal statue. He was not moving at all. And when you tell him you have pressure coming from his backside and the dude tried moving, he looked like a 45-year-old man. It was bad. And that's what concerns me about Kirk Cousins is it still looks like his processing is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was reading, like at times, yes, he was focused on his number one target, but he was trying to get to different places. He was doing very good pump fakes, moving the safety's eyes, but he was just slow. And that's what concerns me. So I'll give him a little leeway. I'll give him a couple weeks. But to be honest with you, I think Michael Penix Jr. can come in and run that offense better than what he put up last Sunday. And Michael Penix is a guy where you look at how he came into the NFL, Malik. I watched him at Indiana University. I watched him at Washington. I'm sure, you obviously did as well. And the dude is a pro-ready quarterback. His issue was always health. Can this dude stay healthy? Is he too old to bring into the NFL.
Mhm.
And hell no, he's not. The dude can step in right now with those weapons, with Zach Robinson. I truly believe if they can scheme something up and actually build this offense, I think Michael Penix right now could lead them to the playoffs. And I'm not saying Kirk Cousins can't, but at some point you got to look at yourself and say, hey, I dug this hole for myself. I signed him to $180 million, and then I went and drafted his replacement in the same offseason. So you dug the hole for yourself. At some point, you're going to have to make that change. Why not make it this season if it's not going well? So I'm on the Penix Jr. bandwagon, especially if Kirk Cousins can't get it right.
You know, I think that no matter which way you slice it, if you were to make the switch to a Michael Penix Jr., you're going to deal with growing pains as a rookie,
Yes.
like you deal with it every single year. I'm not going to sit up here and say that, you know, he's going to instantly come in and take them to the playoffs or anything like that. I think it'll be some growing pains. But when you slice it, no matter which way you slice it, I think that guy is more talented than the guy you have right now at the quarterback position. I do. But talent doesn't always take you to the promised land. Talent doesn't always win championships. It's very reminiscent of that saying, right? Where it says, you don't have more, you're not better than me, you just have more experience than me. And I think that that's a situation right there with Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has more experience. Kirk Cousins has done it longer. Kirk Cousins probably has has a longer resume. But I think when we look at it, I don't think that I don't feel like Kirk Cousins is better than Michael Penix in the long haul. And I will be honest with you, if I'm one of these teams out here that are struggling at the quarterback position that feel like we could make a push, maybe you go out there and you do try to place a phone call for the Falcons to see what you could do to get a guy like Kirk Cousins, because I wonder how much of the drafting of Michael Penix hurt some of the momentum that the Falcons had coming into the season. Kirk was very, very excited to be a Falcon. He wasn't as excited to be a Falcon after they drafted Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah.
And I wonder, did that play or has that played a role into his offseason preparation to any degree?
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. And my issue with this, I do look at Arthur Blank, I do look at Terry Fontenot with the Falcons organization is, man, this was a loaded draft class when it comes to quarterbacks. There is no way, and when we discussed the Falcons, there is no way they didn't believe a quarterback would be there. They scouted these quarterbacks. They looked at these quarterbacks. They knew they loved Michael Penix Jr. So my issue is, why do you go sign a Kirk Cousins who is 36 and go and draft his quarterback? In my opinion, if I was them, and I understand, yes, you're covering your ass, I would have much rather signed a Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason. That's what irritates me is if I put myself in their shoes, I would not have signed Kirk Cousins.
But it was a brilliant insurance plan, though. When you think
I agree.
And Sean, no one is saying, Sean, I see in the comment section, he feels like he wants to disagree with everything we're saying. Sean, no one's saying that they're going to bench him. Nobody believes they're going to bench a $180 million quarterback. No, that's not what we're saying. But there's also no world in which they turn to Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins, the $180 million man is still on the roster.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, if you're a team that realizes you're struggling at the quarterback position and you feel like you're a quarterback away from helping you, and that guy is disgruntled or whatever the situation might be, if you feel like you need to turn to Michael Penix Jr. at some point, it might behoove you to place a phone call to the Falcons to see if Kirk Cousins is available, because at some point or another, you're going to feel the pressure of the family. Listen, it's like the NFL is clockwork. We deal with this every single year. It doesn't matter who the quote unquote incumbent starter is right now. If you draft a young guy, at some point, you're going to feel the pressure to start that guy that you drafted, because guess what? Every single start of that guy that you have right now is going to be magnified. People are going to be looking to see if he makes mistakes. People are going to be looking to see if he doesn't throw for 400 yards or doesn't pull you back if you're down by 10 points in the fourth. These are things that people are going to look at. Kirk Cousins is not dealing on the same playing field he was dealing with when he first signed with the Falcons.
Yes.
Everything that guy does is going to be magnified. That's my thoughts.
And just to finalize this, Sean, and something else I think is important. I think it's important. Put yourself in their shoes, right? You said they're not going to bench a guy who's making $180 million. Put yourself in the shoes.
The Broncos did it.
The Broncos did it. And who thought that they would draft a quarterback at number 8 overall when they just signed him for $180 million? Remember that conversation that everybody was having after the draft. Holy shit, what the hell are the Falcons doing? Well, we thought they didn't do it. We thought that they wouldn't do it, and they did it. So it's not, in my opinion, it's not out of the realm of possibility. If Kirk Cousins does not improve, and if this product that they put out on Sunday continues for 8 straight weeks into the latter part of the season, I wouldn't be shocked. But I do think the Falcons turn it around with Kirk Cousins. I do think that they'll be an average team it's going to take some time. So just hopefully he gets healthy and hopefully he gets reacclimated.
I've got something for you.
Yeah.
Hear me out. I have a theory. I want to play a little game real quick.
All right, let's play again.
Let's play mix and match for the quarterback position. This is gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
What if the Cleveland Browns called for Kirk Cousins?
Mhm.
Remember the success that Kevin Stefanski had with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback in Minnesota. Remember the job Kevin Stefanski did with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, which is the reason why he's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. The Deshaun Watson situation is playing out the way the Deshaun Watson situation is playing out. And if this sexual assault misconduct that just came up again has any legitimacy to it and any real legs to it, there is language in the contract that allows the Cleveland Browns to void that $200 million, guaranteed money that they gave Deshaun Watson, to where he does not have to see the life of that contract. There is language in the contract that will allow them an out for it. Now, that's all pending. This was a newly filed sexual assault allegation that was filed, I believe, at the top of this week on Deshaun Watson. Why wouldn't they place a phone call? That Browns roster is good.
Yes.
Kevin Stefanski has had success with Kirk Cousins. Now, I understand you're going out there probably making a move for a quarterback again, but what else do the Browns have to lose at this point? Right now, they're throwing shit to the wall, hoping it sticks. And guess what? If you ask me, I think that Kevin Stefanski and Kirk Cousins, Cleveland Browns, not that far-fetched. Just my thoughts.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just playing matchmaker.
Yeah. Make it happen. And that's what I think. I like it. I think it's a great fit. The only issue is going to be figuring out, okay, one, do they have enough money? And two, Deshaun Watson, what's the issue? I think all that matters is the money situation, because on paper, that is, and if I'm the Cleveland Browns,
Which is why the voiding is so important.
yes.
Right?
Yes. So I would do it. And I think you're right. Look at the success that Kevin Stefanski has had with a guy like Joe Flacco, with these other quarterbacks, and tell me that he couldn't do it with Kirk Cousins. This roster is damn talented. That defense is a top 3 unit. And you look at, they got Amari Cooper, they got Jerry Jeudy, they got a great offensive line. I'm with you. I think Kirk Cousins takes them in the playoffs if they trade for him.
Well,
And
you're
it's-
just we're
and
just
it's all
full of
for
the
the
hot. You're
Falcons.
just full of the hot takes today.
I think so.
Michael Penix takes the Falcons to the playoffs. Kirk Cousins will take the Browns to the playoffs.
I don't think the Falcons
What else?
one is
Tell me
crazy.
something else. Tom
No.
Brady's coming out of retirement to play for the
Alright,
Patriots again.
relax. I don't think the Falcons one is crazy, to be honest. I think their division sucks. And I think I can totally see Michael Penix.
I think the division sucks, but I still think that the Buccaneers, I think continuity is important.
I agree.
And I think when a team's going through changes and stuff like that, it's important to understand that, the teams that you're facing in your division might be better equipped because they have more team chemistry, more camaraderie together. I
I
think
would
it's
agree.
important. All right.
Yeah.
If you guys do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. Want to keep the conversation rolling. Anthony Richardson had a interesting day. A lot was a lot of hype coming in for Anthony Richardson. There was some people that talked about him as a potential MVP-esque type candidate, the whole 9 yards. But Daniel, you have a little bit of a different opinion on a guy like Anthony Richardson. What we all saw at the end of the day was the huge throw from his back foot after he stumbled the whole 9 yards, and that's the highlight that gets played over and over and over again. Daniel, what were your thoughts on Anthony Richardson?
I've got some thoughts, Malik. I've got a lot of thoughts, and I think Anthony Richardson is being overrated right now. I truly believe it. I think this whole NFL world is caught up in his highlights. And let me start off by saying this. Yes, he is a freak of a talent, 1000%. Yes, his rushing ability does scare off some teams. And yes, they only lost by 2 points to a real contender in the Houston Texans. But I still believe that we're overrating, we're overlooking Anthony Richardson's, serious issues. That this was the same thing we saw last year, right? In a short span, that Anthony Richardson at his peak can be an MVP level talent. Are we sure that he can sustain this for 17 games? I'm not so sure. And when we discuss, can he sustain this? I don't even think his performance was elite this past weekend. Yes, he threw for that huge touchdown. Yes, it was a flashy play. And yes, he had a huge rushing touchdown to bring them within 2 points at the end of the game. But are we going to forget that this dude completed 9 passes this week? He completed 9 of 19. And when you go back and rewatch the film, guys, there is so much that is being left on the table for this Colts offense. I'm talking 2 missed deep throws to AD Mitchell. I'm talking another missed throw deep to Alec Pierce. I'm talking some missed throws on the intermediate parts. And it may sound like I'm bagging on him, but
It does.
But I'm looking at him of the standard of an MVP caliber talent that everybody's discussing him as.
Yeah.
And yes, I think he is an MVP caliber talent, but does that mean he has a consistency on a down-to-down basis? I don't think so right now.
Nope.
And that's what concerns me, right? Is how is he going to maintain this play? Yes, I think his rushing ability is going to, keep defenses on edge. And yes, I think that they need to have Jonathan Taylor get much more work than he did before. But this offense, as it currently is constructed right now, it's going to be similar to, what the Eagles built, obviously Shane Steichen with the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's what concerns me because they don't have the talent on the roster to do that right now. AD Mitchell is a talented wide receiver. Michael Pittman Jr. is a talented wide receiver. But I do think that right now, as it's currently constructed, they aren't a Super Bowl caliber offense right now. And that's what concerns me is we're going to see later on in the season, and if the Colts do make the playoffs, that, okay, there are some serious flaws in Anthony Richardson's game. And when somebody sits down, what were you going to say?
You said there aren't a Super Bowl caliber offense, the Colts. Are they even a playoff caliber offense?
Oh, yeah.
Are they even a win the
yeah,
division caliber offense?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should ever mention the Colts right now
Yeah.
in a Super Bowl sentence ever in any way, shape, or form. I'm silly just want to talk about is Anthony Richardson hype justified.
Yeah.
I don't think the hype is justified. I think the guy has always been a guy that we talked about, has all this talent, has amazing arm talent, but can he put it all together?
Yeah.
I think that's the conversation that needs to happen. It can even be a franchise quarterback. Let's not even talk about no Super Bowl. Let's not even talk about no playoffs for the Colts. Let's just talk about is Anthony Richardson, is the hype justified? I don't believe that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I don't think the hype is justified. And I do think that he is their franchise quarterback. I think that he's going to be their guy that they are going to roll with, right? They drafted him high in the first round. They're going to continue to roll with him. Right now, he's giving the Colts fans excitement. I think that goes far beyond even what we're discussing. I'm projecting him into the future. And that's what this year, I don't know if they can go deep into the playoffs. I think that this team can make the playoffs. I think that their defense is extremely talented on the front end, but you got to look at their secondary. And Anthony Richardson, once again, I think it'll rear its ugly head. His down-to-down inconsistencies, that's what concerns me. So if the Colts have a serious path to making the playoffs, it's going to be through Jonathan Taylor, and it's going to have to be through Anthony Richardson also continuing to utilize his legs. But that's also what concerns me. The dude played 2 games last year, and he got hurt. And this week, he had 10 rushes for 60 yards. I don't think that he can maintain that. And yes, maybe it sounds like I'm projecting an injury, but at the end of the day, you go look at what Jordan Mason said yesterday after the game. He said, holy crap, Christian McCaffrey, I don't know how you do this. Ask Anthony Richardson. The dude is running people over. It is, I truly don't believe that's not sustainable for 17 straight games.
It's not. And you've seen some of the most durable quarterbacks break down over time, like Cam Newton. And to be honest with you, I think at his best, that's probably Anthony Richardson's ceiling, right? I think a Cam, that's what you hope for. If you get a Cam Newton out of Anthony Richardson, you're happy, right?
Yep.
At his best, MVP like season, the whole 9 yards. And I see Liam in the comment section saying cold hate. There's no cold hate. I think it's important to be real with yourself. Have a real conversation. Did I see some good things from Anthony Richardson on Sunday? Yes. But did he also leave a lot to be desired? Yes. Did he only complete 9 passes out of 19? Yes. Those are all real things that happen. There is no Colt hate. If the guy winds up doing great and the Colts wind up being amazing this year, that's no skin on my back. You'll hear me jump on the show and I'll say I was wrong about Anthony Richardson. But again, we're all living in a pipe dream and a fantasy right now of talking about him as MVP candidates and doing all this stuff that we have not seen before. Right. So the fact of the matter is, I just want to bring us down to reality. Like, the guy is still a young player in this league. His rookie season was pretty much a wash because of the injury. And I just like to see him out there. If Anthony Richardson is out there, the Colts offense could be dynamic. Yes. But is the hype justified? The MVP hype that some people were talking before season? No, it's not justified. And guess what? After what we saw this past week, guess what? Again, it's not justified. It could be after next week, after a couple of weeks in the season. But the fact of the matter is, right now, we need to just see what this guy is going to become over time. Give him a chance. Give him a chance to work on it. Give him a chance to work out the kinks. But you can't address the positives because there were some positives without addressing the negatives, right? That's life. That's not being negative. That's not being hateful. That's just being honest. Anthony Richardson should not have instilled anything. He didn't answer any questions is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
This past week. Right. If anything, I have more questions about the Texans, I would say, and their ability to keep things going. I was impressed with their offense the whole 9 yards. But for me, I just think that Anthony Richardson is still I think Anthony Richardson still has some things to work on. As he says, MVP hype, no, but top 10 quarterback by the end of the season? Question mark, probably. Can he play the full season? That's where the conversation starts and ends. Can he play the full season? If he plays the full season, then sure, maybe we're having that discussion. But this is a guy that he's probably started 3 or 4 full games. He's
Probably his third full
he's
season,
passed
full
for
game.
300 yards and now 2 of them. I mean, 200 yards and 2 of them or 3 of them, something
Yeah.
like that. Again, want to see the maturation as a quarterback. Want to see him put all the tools together. He didn't put all the tools together at Florida. We haven't seen him necessarily put all the tools together at the NFL. But again, the sample size has been so small. I'm just saying, give this guy an opportunity. Let's hold our horses on the hype. Let's see if he can stay healthy for a full football season. We all have the full sample size to pick from, and then we can figure out what he's going to be from there. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. From one quarterback to another, Jaden Daniels got his start in the NFL. Daniel, what were your thoughts?
Jaden Daniels surprised me, and this goes back to what my preseason take was and my offseason take was. I don't think that Jaden Daniels, he needs a great situation around him. That still stays true. They do need a much better situation, but Jaden Daniels, I think that yes, they draft him high. He'll be the franchise quarterback. I saw enough from him to say, okay, this dude is he's not gonna after 4 years be a Zach Wilson. After 4 years is gonna be a Sam Darnold. I don't think so. I saw enough from him to say this dude he's got much more than they had right away. And my questions with Jaden Daniels is gonna be, can they surround him with talent? Is gonna be, can he in the same sentence, can he not be running as much? The dude ran 16 times for 80 yards. So, and the positives when I look at Jaden Daniels, Malik, Jaden Daniels showed me confidence. The dude was launching the ball. He showed a great deep ball. A little inaccurate with the deep ball, but my biggest question to him was, can he also be accurate over the middle of the field? And he was. He was accurate running the quick routes. He was accurate running, the shallow crosses, the levels concepts. He was reading through his progressions. My issue with him has been and always is going to be 1 to 2, 3 reads. As soon as he feels pressure, puts his head down, he doesn't look up. And another thing is his pocket presence. This is something where when you look at quarterbacks in the NFL, it is a misunderstood concept because everybody believes the big arm, the Patrick Mahomes running around is how you do it. With Jaden Daniels, when I went back and rewatched what he did, his pocket presence was putrid. It almost looked like me and Madden, to be honest. I went back and watched him. It's snap the ball, back up 6, 7 steps, don't even step up in the pocket and get out of there. That's going to take some time, and that's where my biggest concerns lie. But if I have a concern about him being timid, no, he let that ball rip. If I have a concern about him being a playmaker, no, he was one hell of a playmaker. And now I really look at the Commanders, and I say, add talent around him. De'Ami Brown being a wide receiver 2 is absurd. I'm sorry. I went back and rewatched that. Terry McLaurin was routing people up. Nobody else was doing anything. And that's where my concern is. Cliff Kingsbury didn't do him any favors, and his weapons did not do him any favors. So I think Jaden Daniels impressed me, and I think that he showed, okay, this season is going to be progression, and they're not going to be successful because their team, their offensive line sucks. But what I saw out of him, I saw a dude, if you add talent around him, he could be a problem. So.
Listen, I actually disagree with your thought process on the
Really?
Cliff Kingsbury thing. I think that the cool thing about having Cliff Kingsbury as his offensive coordinator is Cliff is going to allow him to be himself.
Okay.
I think that's important. And I think being himself involves with him running the football. Do
Okay.
you want your quarterback running the ball, 16 times or whatever the number was? No, absolutely not. That is not a recipe for success.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, if he does that again, if he continues to do that throughout the season, he won't complete the season.
Yep.
The same sentiment that I shared on the last segment when I talked about Anthony Richardson, at least Anthony showed some promise in the pass game as well.
Yeah.
I think that we need to see that from Jaden Daniels. We need to see Jaden Daniels' maturation as a passer. Lamar Jackson had to do that, right? Most running quarterbacks that come from college to the NFL have to do that as well. And I agree with Liam. He is a run-first quarterback. That is not conducive to NFL success. We need to see Jaden Daniels be able to, I'm not going to say become a pocket passer, but be able to go through his reads, progressions, and make things happen. You brought up some of the weapons that he has, some of the guys he's throwing to, such as what you call it, De'Ami Brown, obviously, Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz. But that's a pretty good weaponry to have. That's some pretty good weaponry to have to start off your NFL career. Terry McLaurin is a fantastic wide receiver.
Yeah.
Again, I just think it comes down to being comfortable. and believing in your arm, believing in the guys that you have out there that you're throwing to. I don't think that that's a bad weapon choice. There's some guys that come in the league with absolutely
Yeah.
jack shit, right? But he's got a talented team around him, and he's got hopefully a defense that can kind of put together. Their secondary is putrid, awful,
Yeah.
horrid, and but I still believe that Jaden Daniels showed some nice things, right? Some things you'd want to see, but you need to be able to build upon that.
I
You need to be
agree.
able to build upon that. But I think Cliff Kingsbury is actually a positive to
Yeah.
allowing Jaden Daniels to play within the structure of his comfort level.
I would agree. And yeah, Cliff Kingsbury is good. I think it just week 1, and obviously we're judging off of 1 week sample size. So I will give Cliff Kingsbury, some leeway. It just what I saw, I didn't really like what I saw with them. And maybe that goes to show how their styles are clashing a little bit. And that's when I look at Jaden Daniels, for all the positives that I said, and I'm not going to say that Jaden Daniels can't become this, but the type of passer that he is, I don't know if that will really ever change because, and what I mean by that is the looking down and looking to run after your first and second read. I don't know if that will ever change. That's something I would love, not that he cares about my opinion or anything, but I'd love to see him prove me wrong with that because I saw it, 4 years ago at ASU. And I think that's the issue. And that's what is going to be Cliff Kingsbury's job is how do you build around that? And how do you stop that from becoming a major issue? Because I think it can be. And that's the same questions that, and not to compare them, but the same questions that we have about Lamar Jackson today, about his inaccuracies as a passer. I think we could be having about Jaden Daniels of him not trusting his arm enough outside of the pocket and just looking down.
And I just want to be clear: if Jaden Daniels is even a smidgen of what Lamar Jackson is, he's a success. All right, Lamar Jackson by no stretch of the imagination was a bad pick. Was a guy that hasn't lived up. He's won 2 MVPs. Ravens are obviously hoping that they have more success in the playoffs. I think that's pretty evident. But I think the fact of the matter is, you look at Jaden Daniels and you say, okay, can he improve? Can he progress? Can he be a guy that is comfortable in his own skin? Is he going to be a guy that's comfortable with elevating the pieces around him in any way, shape, or form? One thing I will say about Jaden Daniels, we bag on him. We've bagged on him a lot on this show.
Yeah.
Or I'll say I will. I have.
I do too.
I say at ASU, he had some chinks in his armor. He went to LSU and he improved.
Yep.
The following year, he improved again. So much so, he won a Heisman, didn't he?
Yep. He won the Heisman.
Right.
Mhm.
I believe that at every next level Jaden Daniels gets to, he continues to show improvement. That is the one thing I'll always tip my hat on. You want to see that improvement from your quarterback. It's the reason why he was drafted where he was drafted. It's the reason why a lot of people are high on him. It's the reason why a lot of people are excited about him. So I think that guy has shown improvement through and through each time, each level he's gotten to.
Yeah, and the final thing I'll say, Liam, he said 100 of his 180 yards were to running backs. He can't throw the ball downfield. I'm going to disagree with you. Yes, the product he put out in week 1, yes, he did not stats-wise show he can throw the ball downfield. But I'm not going to judge him off of that. 1, he's confident in his arm. 2, he has a great deep ball. And 3, I saw it in college. We saw it with Malik Neighbors. We saw it with Brian Thomas. We saw it at ASU. He has an amazing deep ball, and he trusts it. So I'm not going to judge it off of 1 week. Yes, he checked it down to his running backs a lot. That's actually a better sign for me because I want him to see, okay, he's not just holding the ball. He's not taking sacks. He's actually checking it down. So
yeah, he's going through those progressions. You like to see the positive from him. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWSN studios. Remember, we go live almost every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for the Sit Down morning show with Malik Wright. Wednesdays, we have State of the Jungle at 7 p.m. where we discuss all things Cincinnati Bengals. But there's a couple more things we want to get into before we head out here for today. One of the things I want to talk about is Sean O'Malley is taking on Merab Dvalishvili, UFC 306 at the Sphere Card this weekend. I want to give my overall thoughts on that matchup. Daniel, I want you to give your thoughts too. Listen, I kind of touched on it. I want to say a couple shows back. I said this. Listen, I think this is Sean O'Malley's fight to lose. I think Sean O'Malley has a lot of the advantages in this fight. I think you know what Merab's game plan is going to be. Try to take Sean O'Malley down, try to maul Sean O'Malley, and try to make life hell for Sean O'Malley. He's going to try to test that gas tank of a sugar Sean O'Malley. And I don't think he's going to be successful while doing so. I don't think the fight is going to go as long as people are expecting it to. you wonder with all the injuries, the cuts over Merab's eye and all that stuff coming in, how that's going to impact the fight. One thing I will say is a lot of these guys in the UFC, respectfully, I don't mean this to be disrespectful. They got to understand, man, you clamor so hard. You're number one. You're not one of the more exciting fighters. You're pretty boring in Merab. I find his grappling entertaining, but from the first time viewer, if you will, his fight style is very boring. But you clamor, you beg for a fight to this magnitude for Sean O'Malley. You wonder why you have to win how many fights in a row in the division or in the top 5 or in the top 10 before you get a crack at the championship. And it's because you do stupid stuff like what Merab's done. Why would you post on social media your cut? Why would you do that? Why would you show yourself taking the stitches out of your eye? Right? Now, that gets to a whole can of worms in terms of it messes with pay-per-view buys. It messes with people actually wanting to attend the event. It messes up with so much. It even can impact the fight because if a doctor sees your cut split open of your eye, guess what? They might choose to stop the fight. That also could impact you going on to the judge's scorecard if it were to go that far. They see a cut bust open and now they're like, oh, this guy is hurt. Sean O'Malley hits him with a big shot. There is so much that went wrong during the buildup of this fight on Merab's end, right? That I feel like the UFC is dreading a Merab Dvalishvili victory. That being said, I think Merab is talented, but I think he's going to have to what Chase said in the comment section. It's funny because me and Chase, we were pretty much aligned with our thought process there. If Merab can avoid Sean's left in those teep kicks to the body, I think he might be cooking with something. He has to find a way to close the distance on a guy like Sean O'Malley. That's easier said than done. Sean O'Malley has very tricky movement. And guess what? I think O'Malley is a bigger guy. I think O'Malley is a guy that can put Merab's lights out. And I really believe that Sean understands what Merab is trying to get done. You fought Aljamain Sterling. They're different, but they're very similar in a lot of ways, right? Those guys are going to look to literally close the gap and then shoot for you. The one thing I will say that's different from Merab versus Aljamain Sterling, Aljamain likes to take you down against the fence. Merab will take you down in the center of the octagon. He don't need back. He's that confident in his wrestling. But, the funny thing is, Merab is a guy that likes to get confident in his striking at points and times. And I have a funny feeling his ego might take over and he might try to stand with Sean O'Malley and look to incorporate his wrestling at a later point. That being said, I think Sean O'Malley wins this fight. I think he hurts Merab to the body and then finds that left hand. And I think he puts Merab's lights out. Daniel?
Yeah. The one thing I will say first off, Malik, I'm pissed that the odds have changed. He's now minus 140. Sean O'Malley. He was when this fight first opened up. Sean O'Malley was the underdog. He was pretty plus 115 for being the champion. So now I'm a little pissed with that. Yes, I'm with you. And my biggest takeaways from this is go back and rewatch Merab. And for those of you who haven't really, or need a little more information on him, the dude has gotten cracked time and time and time again in the UFC. His last fight against Henry Cejudo in the first round, cracked. His fight against Michael Morales, he got cracked. Merab is susceptible to getting rocked. And I think that's a bad game to play with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is a sniper. And I don't know. This is one, Malik, I'm not even overthinking this. Merab has great wrestling. I really do believe that this is just Sean O'Malley's time. I think Sean O'Malley is in a flow state in his career right now. I think Sean O'Malley has, isn't going to be overlooking Merab because the same mindset that he had before Cheeto, he went out there and said, and that's what I do trust Sean O'Malley and his coach's opinion a lot, actually. And before the Cheeto fight, they said, listen, Cheeto's a tough guy, but we know Cheeto is not on our level skill-wise. And that's exactly the way the fight played out. And what they're saying for this Merab fight, Merab has great wrestling. He's got great cardio, but he is going to get cracked. And Sean thinks he's going to make it look easy. And Malik, I think he makes it look pretty easy within the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
I would be very curious to see if he does get taken down. The UFC fan in me wants to see him get taken down because I'd be very curious. Okay, how does he work off of his back? We didn't get to see that with Aljo. We got to see that with Peter Yan a little bit. I'd be curious to see how he works.
Sean has very good jiu-jitsu, and I will say this: Sean is very good at getting back to his feet.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys that are hard to take down and even harder to keep down.
Yep.
And I feel like almost it'll gas you out more so taking him down than it does actually gassing him out, taking him. You know what I mean? Like I think it's one of those things where Sean tries to do a good job of managing his cardio. At points, it does kind of tee off. It's weird. I feel like his cardio kind of tees off a little bit when the fight is like standing too much. Like when you look at that Chris Moutinho fight, he was punching that guy's face off and he was getting tired just from punching his face continuously,
Yeah.
right? But I think when you have the added grappling exchanges or those close pressure situations, I think that's where a guy like Sean O'Malley really is able to like really accentuate what his game plan is and what he's trying to get done. I think Sean is just gonna. I do believe Sean's gonna make it look easy against Marab too. I think a lot of people are overlooking what Sean is capable of doing here, and it's crazy because the guy really has elevated his game. And they say when you become champion, Teddy Atlas says when you become champion, you get 30% better. Man, did he look damn good against Cheeto. I don't think I've ever seen someone beat Cheeto the way that we saw Cheeto get beat against Sean O'Malley last time out. And Victoria, I love the fact that she said, I just got into UFC and I absolutely love it. These guys are crazy. We love that you are a UFC fan. We love the fact that you are that you're, you support the show. We love the fact that you tune in each morning with us as well. But I think this is Sean O'Malley's fight to lose. I agree with Daniel. If you guys do us a favor, give this video a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. And for our final topic, I want to talk about some of our misreads.
Yeah.
Our misreads. I'm not going to go into all of my misreads, right? Because we believe in transparency here at TWSN. I believe that it's important to be transparent when your bets win, when your bets lose. I'm going to be transparent with you. That Mike Gesicki read for me did not hit. But hear me out. I'm not down on it. Let me tell you why. Because I feel like the opportunities were very limited, and I feel like the one time he did get an opportunity for the red zone touchdown, obviously the ball skirted out at the last second. I felt like the read was there, but it still was a misread on my part because I was literally praising praising Mike Gesicki and believing that he was going to have a big game against the New England Patriots. He didn't get all the opportunities he should have. He might get those opportunities against the Kansas City Chiefs, but still, I own it. Mike Gesicki, bad read by me. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, to be honest, I think Malik, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that was a bad read, and I think yes, we call it bad. I think it was a great read. I think for me, if I'm discussing one of the reads, I didn't take this, but a read that I missed was Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson had 120 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals, and in hindsight, that was probably one of the easiest reads of the entire week. His prop was at 50 yards, 50. And the reason why it was a misread is you look at. There's a couple things in sports betting. Opportunity. Is this guy going to get opportunity? Ramondre Stevenson has zero competition in the backfield, so he was going to get all the opportunity. You look at the Bengals defensive line. What was one of their issues last year? It was their rush defense. Who did they lose this offseason? DJ Reader. Who did they have injuries heading into this game? Chris Jenkins, some of their young guys. That was a complete misread on my part because the dude rushed for 120 yards, and I missed out on a lot of money. If you would have taken him at 100 plus yards, you would have probably bet $100. You probably would have made $800. Yeah. And that was a misread on my part. I could go to another one real quick. I think probably one of my other misreads, I think just to talk about the Titans versus Bears, I misread this game. And the part that I misread is I should have faded the Bears' weapons. Caleb Williams had a terrible game. That's what I predicted. I said Titans defense is going to mollywop him. But what I didn't take into account was how bad the Titans offense would look. And that's what I missed out on. So in hindsight, I would have faded because my analysis, I trusted the Titans defense. I would have just faded Caleb Williams. I would have faded DJ Moore. I would have faded DeAndre Swift. And all three of those worked out well. Caleb Williams went under his passing yards, went under his passing touchdowns. DJ Moore under his receiving yards. DeAndre Swift had a terrible game. But the Titans lost because their offense was so putrid. So that was I was super confident in that game, and just hindsight's 2020 and learn from it and grow from it.
Now, while we talked about our worst reads, because I know I see Mike Strong in the comment section like, well, my favorite bet, let's talk about the bets we did hit and why you actually should subscribe to the TWSN Patreon. There was a whole lot more good than it was bad for us. Joe Mixon plus money hitting his receptions, that hit for us, right? That was plus money. I think his receptions over 2.5.
Yep.
He hit that. All right. That was a prop that I felt very, very good about. Chase Brown, another prop that I talked about. Over his prop receptions over 2.5 plus money. He hit that. Right. There was the Josh Allen, my favorite prop that I always do. Josh Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He hit that.
Yep.
I'm going to check as well on this. And then you can kind of go to what your favorite one was while I'm checking up on this really quickly. But
Yeah, so a couple of my favorite ones. Once again, guys, if you guys want, we're doing this every single week. Go check out the Patreon link in the description. We've got a full best bets on there, super affordable. Go check it out. We appreciate you guys tuning in. A couple of my favorite ones. Number one was Cooper Kupp, Sunday Night Football. His over in receptions was 5.5. The reason why I love that one so much is you looked at the Lions secondary. He had a great matchup. He had consistency with his quarterback. And last year, people were down on him because of his injury. He's got a great rapport with his quarterback, and the dude had 14 receptions. His over was 5.5. So that was one. Another one was Mike Evans to score a touchdown. Once again, look at the matchups. We discussed the Commanders secondary was absolutely putrid. Mike Evans went out there on the second drive, scored a touchdown, his anytime touchdown. We cashed that. And one more, going with your Josh Allen thing, we had Josh Allen rushing touchdown as well. Him to get a rushing touchdown. Look at what Joe Brady did. Last year, there was a major split from Ken Dorsey. Josh Allen wasn't running the ball. When they switch offense coordinators, Josh Allen was running a ton. He ran for 2 touchdowns. If you would have bet $100 or let's say $10 on him to get 2 touchdowns, you would have made $85.
2 more that I hit on that I was pretty happy about. Bijan Robinson crushed his receptions prop. It was at 4.5, I believe. Or no, was that 3.5?
3.5.
3.5. He had 5. Kyle Pitts also, his receptions were at 2.5. He had 3. And my favorite read of the week was one that I had to dig deep into my bag to get. It was the Kansas City Chiefs game. Noah Gray, right? Noah Gray to have, what was it? 2 receptions?
2 over 1.5.
Over 1.5 receptions, and he hit that. So again, I pride myself on being the tight end whisperer.
Yeah.
Right. And I believe that I'll keep doing that. We hope that you guys will join us on Thursday as well for another episode of the Sit Down with Malik Wright morning show, where I'll be bringing to you my favorite bets for the Thursday Night Football matchup. Danny will be bringing to you the favorite matchups for Thursday Night Football. We'll be having our TWSN fantasy football expert, Michael O'Hara, joining us on the show. We've got so much planned, so much content planned for this upcoming offseason. We're not going to be live tomorrow for the Sit Down with Malik Wright morning show, but we'll be live for State of the Jungle, talking all things Cincinnati Bengals at 7 p.m. with me and the crew. But until next time, remember, there's only one way that you should be waking up, watching sports, talking sports, and that is the right way.